I was going to say good morning, everyone. Welcome to the, okay, the other webinar's on. Let me know in case it's not on. I was going to say welcome to the European crossover webinar, but obviously it's afternoon daily roundup. I did go on and indicate that I was going to go on and show how we try and trade. Obviously, everybody's approach is different, and use what works best for you. I always talk about that in the European crossover webinar when we're talking about the bias chart. And I say, look, it's just meant to be used as a tool in conjunction with what you or how you trade. We have some people that are just longer term traders, others that are short term, some that may be scalpers. It's kind of funny because Amanda used to be somewhat of a longer term trader. She was excellent. Well, she shifted now because of things got so, the ranges weren't so good. She basically almost turned into a scalper at times, and she's still the same excellent trader. But I'm just saying, there's many different approaches here. And I know Jane, she holds her trades longer, way longer than I do, and she's very successful with her. She trades S&P. Sometimes she trades NASDAQ. I know she trades crypto, which we do follow crypto. And like I said, our bias chart support for the last almost 10 days has been 29,200. The low was 29,299, and you can see where we rallied to. But like I said, I thought about trading crypto when it was in here, but I just, like I said, with NASDAQ and S&Ps, I'm trying to figure out, like, are we going to extend another new high, or are we just going to kind of run out of gas up in here? And that's what we're looking at. I'll focus on the NASDAQ, and then we'll switch over to the S&Ps, and then we'll touch base on the crude, which I shared on the chat room yesterday about 71.15. I shared it on Twitter, and then I shared it in detail on the European crossover webinar. You can watch that video if you want. And we weren't even at 71.15, but I stressed the importance of it, and then we faded like almost $1. And I think now crude has come back. We can take a look at it. Yeah, wow, it's even making new highs. Okay, but it hit where we were talking about, so that's all that matters. And there's that 71.15. But anyway, let's go on to the NASDAQ. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Just kind of put a perspective where we're at right now. Now, the bulls, to some certain extent overall, they're in charge because we closed above this 14,810. I mentioned that yesterday. Hey, this is a big deal. That's a daily, blah, blah, blah. We're moving higher. Looking at things going backwards on the 2-hour chart, I talked about the significance of this 14,743, and we got above it on that day, but we closed below. We could never close above 14,743, and we sold off really hard. A couple of days ago. And then you can see where we discussed this on European crossover. Once it closed above that, my target, I had said at this time here, hey, that's going to take us to 14,810, which I was just going with some body touches. Oh, it was this one right here. So see, that's what we would end up going to. And I said yesterday, or in the webinar today, I think I mentioned, well, you know what, we've already, so much time has passed, I think that would probably extend us even beyond that. So I wasn't sure. I think our bias chart resistance today, it was 14,903, but the profile showed 932. So I'll just quickly bring on the profile just to give us like context. Let me see, I think I was looking at the RTH, which is regular trading hours. And what I do is I've said it before in the other webinar, I'm no profile aficionado. So, I know all this stuff about poor highs and blah, 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 and the single principle. All I do is what I've done in my other analysis. I just try and find confluences where there's multiple resistance or support. And let me try and pull this back up here. So one of the things we're looking at, I've looked at, you can see the POC right here, point of control here, where the most amount of trading time-wise was spent. So you can see here that came in, that's on the regular trading hours. I think I have to go to the full session, and we're going to do that. So that might be able to pull this back. There we go. Okay, so there's a POC here at 927. Okay, you can see that on this date right here, 927, and the most amount of trading. So if the market's going back up, then I'm looking for that to be like a ceiling, a little bit of a roof where we're having some trouble. And then I looked at, this is the initial balance, which is going to be the first hour trading. Remember, we have this on RTH, regular trading hours. So the first hour is called the initial balance. So I looked on there and I said, okay, well, where was the initial balance? Okay, that's 934. So, once again, 934, and then the POC on that day, which I believe it's July the 14th, that's right there, 927. You see here, we're pushing up here against here. So this is where I thought the market could potentially run out of gas. Let's go and pull this out here. And here where we're at right now. The high appears to have been 925, so it's right there. Let's move this out of the way. I use the full session and the RTH to kind of figure out where we're at. And then, of course, on the 2 hour, I saw this 913. So I'm thinking, the way I was looking at it is the bulls are in control, but look, we haven't even pulled back. So, I mean, I'm sure there were people, I've been in that situation, who were short and said, oh, I'll just ride it out a little bit longer. I don't think it could get beyond here, and I don't think it could get beyond there. And at some point, you're like, oh, my God, I just got to get out of this position because maybe, we didn't have a stop and we're thinking, oh, this thing's going to go lower. After we saw this big sell-off, there's no way it can get beyond. If it goes beyond 783, the market's just going to run out of gas and roll over. Well, so my thinking is like, how much further can we go without, a pause? Yes, the bulls are in control, but we haven't even paused. What are they going to do? I mean, are they going to start to maybe lighten some of their positions? So I don't think we can see it here. So one of the things I looked at, just give context, I shared this in the chat room. Here. Anyway, I shared in the chat room. If you look at the charts, we had a lot of volume going off at the time. It's up in here. Sure. A lot of volume going off in here. Look at this. And usually I don't see this in the NASDAQ. Of course, this is all scrunched up, so it might be tough. But I'll tell you what I was referring to. Look at this, 374. Now, the gold bar is going to show where the most volume. But these are 5-minute charts. I generally use 10-minute. But I switched it down to 5-minute because, once again, the range is so wide I can't see anything. So sometimes I'll switch it even lower. If we're getting a wide range, I want to see, well, okay, what are we looking at when we're coming down here? So, but you can see here, 374 contracts. That's not something you usually see. And look, that was at 916. Now look at this at 921. 337 contracts, 211, right here, 205, 228, the most volume traded on that one. And I'm thinking, wow, which I didn't notice until afterwards we were starting to pull back. I'm like, wow, this looks like we're getting liquidation. You know what I mean? Like, not they're selling hardcore, like, oh, they're selling it like crazy, this thing's going down, but like longs are just exiting out and saying, you know what, I'll get out. Then maybe they're not taking everything off, but they're saying, I'll take the bulk of my stuff off. So how much further can we push? I'm thinking, okay, I feel comfortable now where I can take some shorts, and if it pushes against me, it's probably not going to go too much further. And if it goes against me, it'll probably retrace back to that same area where we're seeing all this volume. Hence, let's go and switch into the 30-minute. Hence, we got this pullback. Now, one of the things I was looking at, and why I mentioned the profile gave us the levels, but looking here on the footprint, because if you look on the bar chart, there was nothing that this was telling us other than we'd come into these levels. There wasn't anything like, okay, switch from a 30-minute, let's go to a 15-minute. No, there's not anything definitive that I'm seeing here. And so that's what I'm saying, where the footprint was really helped me out a lot. I'm like, okay, there's nothing here that I can say, oh, wow, there's a big gravestone doji or a big shooting star on the 5-minute. Of course, most of us don't trade on the 5-minute, but I'm saying when you're looking at saying, well, we're thinking we're starting to see a turn. And I'm saying, what is the market focusing in on? Now, as we did start to go in and break, then I did look at these earlier levels here, and you can see here that the full session VWAP, which is going to be when the market comes on at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, the electronic session, so that's full session. I put that VWAP all day, each day. You'll go and see me, okay, now I'm moving it to the next day. You'll see that in the, and you can see right here, look, you see the time down here? It's 17:15, so that's when the market opens. So I put that here. Well, you can see here that the market was treating this as support. We're looking on a short-term basis. I did share that here and on Twitter. You can see here, it's working as a cushion. And they went back up to challenge. Well, we know it looks like the market's kind of running out of gas at that time. So I had this level in from before. From way back. I look on the 30 minute, it's still going way back here. But you can see the market, when we rallied up, let me put it up to 15 minute, we ran out of gas right there for 14,910. Remember, our bias chart resistance, doggone it. Okay, here. Our bias chart resistance was 14,903. You see? So now this is where the market, I go with you can see the touches, but that's from way back here. But you can see it kind of held it here. Here we're holding it. Here we kind of capped it. And look, they took out the high. It kind of sucks for people who might be, that's why you have to get a little bit of wiggle room. Anybody who put their stop and said, I'll just put it above the high, they took out this high by just a couple of ticks, and then they turn around and come back. But you can see it's going up against this line. And I always say it's important to go with the closes. Sometimes we'll look at the wicks. So we turned around and we sold off. And actually, I went long here. I actually got out with just only a few ticks. Probably wasn't a smart move to make. But we came into the support, and then we dipped back and made another low. Sometimes with NASDAQ, they'll dip back and make another low. I mean, we eventually did here, but I'm saying, so I was fortunate to get out. Now we are moving higher here, but you can see where they ran out of gas on this. If you're looking on a short-term basis, like a 5 minute, they ran out of gas as we went right back. Look at that. You see, we went right back to revisit the VWAP, full session VWAP, before we went down here and made new lows. Now, one of the things I posted in the chat room was, it's right here, the 2 hour, it was a 2 hour, and I was sharing it, maybe it's on here in the 30 minutes. That 55, that was support in here, right there. It's a support level. Yeah, I have to go back here. You see here? All these bodies. See where all this volume is coming in? You see? So if the market's heading down and they keep tripping stops a little bit lower, then they rebound. Trip a little bit more lower, and they rebound just a little bit. Then they trip more. Probably the third time is probably as good as it gets. So you don't want to get by the first one. I'm used to doing that, and then having to, get put up my rear end until hopefully they come back. And I'm thinking, wow, how much longer will this go? But usually you're going to see at least a second visit with the NASDAQ. And the third time I'm looking like, okay, where am I seeing touches? These touches are coming in right at 54. So I posted that in the room. I go, wow, this is support. I didn't get long there, but I'm just saying, hey, look, if someone's short, they better get the heck out of Dodge. If they're scalping, certainly we're coming back. Someone might have said, you know what, I'll sell it against the full session VWAP. Well, lots of times you'll see me, I'll hit a level the first time, and then I won't come back to it the next time. Because I'm thinking, okay, the first time, there'll probably be a lot of other people doing it at the same time. The second time, I don't know. A good case is crude oil. We had 71.15, and bear with me one moment. Okay. Kind of lost my train of thought. But anyway, Blake had reached out to me and make sure I had the link for the daily roundup. Said I'm already on air. So anyway, but yeah, the case with in point with the crude oil, you see how we went down here. We went up to 71.15, and if you watch the webinar, we covered this in detail, and I already showed it in the chat yesterday. The 71.15 was a key 2 hour level. We even expanded it out, and in the webinar today, I'm like, oh, you can see, you all see these touches from way back here. That's 71.15, and then we've got the VWAP off of the highs. That's confluence with 71.15, and then I showed on the profile 71.10 was the midpoint of the regular trading hours on, I believe it was 7:14. I don't remember for sure. Might have been 7:16, and also the initial balance low was 71.10. So we had a lot of confluence. So they did sell into it. It sat there for the longest time. If we look at it here, and this is a good case in point here, is that so you can see here it was just sitting there, but we had so much confluence that you could short it and think, okay, even if they trying to make a run, I don't think they're going to come that far. Look how far they've come back, but there's a lot of confluence here. Matter of fact, another gentleman who's a very, very good trader, commented when I posted about this morning. He said, yeah, he also had a channel, which I'm not sure what the channel was, but he had a channel there. So you can see so much that, yeah, they may stop it. They may try and push it up here for some stops, but it probably rotate lower. So it sat there for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, whoop, we came down here. We kind of come back up here, and whoop, we came down here. So the move was, look at that. That was $1 move. Holy smokes, man. I didn't catch all that, but I did catch a little bit of this. But we had a pretty good move. Now we'll come back, and that's what I'm saying. I don't like to challenge something, especially if it's key, the second go round, because everybody says, oh, well, I'll sell it again. And then the market, even if it ultimately holds, it probably goes and stops some people out before it comes back in. So I'm like, no, I'll take something on the first time. Maybe if it's indices and I'm scalping, a second go around, but never again after that, especially after a big move, because too many people are going to be eyeing the same thing and saying, oh, it worked so well the last time, I'll sell it again, and then it getting scalped. You can see here we're running out of gas. See these closes right there? Right there. And the reason I'm saying is because I think I was telling, I think I mentioned to Jay in the chat room, I think we're kind of topping out here, but you can't deny that the bulls are in charge, because as long as you get these closes above, anybody shorts can say, I'll be happy to cover down here. But I did say, I think we've come so far that we need a bit of a rest in here, and I think we're seeing that. I think this would be key if it was a Wednesday, then maybe the market would kind of like go into balance, and then maybe we start to work lower coming into Thursday in the European session, and then maybe we push even low on Thursday, and then we could see a sell-off towards Friday. Problem is today's Thursday, and the bulls are solidly in control. So unless we see something come out of nowhere, I don't think we're going to turn around and see a big sell-off or anything. But we'll see how much further we can go. And with that, I'm going to look at the 2-hour charts. But here it is 14,843. We'd have to get, to me, at least 2 consecutive 2-hour closes below that to say, okay, we've got one in place now, and then we probably come down to 783. Another thing is also what I like to do is if we're, and obviously we're looking at 2-hour chart, but it's the same principle with a 15-minute or 30-minute. I always like to see the market do an overshoot. It generally does that. So when I'm doing the analysis on the European crossover webinar, you'll see me say, okay, let's see, you see some touches down here. There's going to be support here. This is a little bit, I wouldn't say an exaggeration, but look, 774, even though the support here is 83. Obviously, that's not going to make any difference on a 2-hour chart. But I like to usually go with some body touches below that, because I'm thinking the market's going to overshoot that level before they see some bids come in. So getting back in here, as I said, now we were able to reclaim the the same day VWAP. So once again, the key level, if we're looking out, we'll move back into, because it sees it more clearly right here on the 15-minute, it would have to get back about 14,910 on a close. So I would think if I was short and I was keeping tight stops, I would not want to see a 5-minute close above 14,910. But I will tell you that sometimes the NASDAQ, it'll close, let's say at 14,912. Forget about these highs because they're not even that far away here. But let's say they're much higher. You'd see this close here, and then all of a sudden it's like here, and then we just close right down. Everybody just got stopped out. I think that can happen a lot with the NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ is not traded with the same volume the way the S&Ps are. So, obviously we can get fake outs in the S&Ps, but sometimes the NASDAQ will take out this level, and you have to give a little bit more leeway with the NASDAQ, which sometimes it can be frustrating. But the way it's looking at right now, I think the market's tired because we've gone so far and we haven't had a sizable pullback. But it's a Thursday. I'm, like I said, other than scalps against this area, I'm more apt, although I did take some scalps, more apt to say, let's see how this market trades, because as Amanda says, always the Friday melt up in U.S. indices, and that's what I'm saying. If it been Wednesday, I'd say, wow, it looks like we're getting tired on a Wednesday. We might be able to finish like around here, and then maybe going into the Asian or the European session on Thursday, we dip down here. Now the market's got a load of steam. Now we can press into Friday. It's Thursday. So who the heck's going to say, we said about the volume that it looks like they're taking some off, and that's something, like I said about the crude oil a couple of days ago. I said, put that in your hip pocket, like the 71.15. That's something to put in your hip pocket is, wow, we saw a lot of volume trading up in here. So if we do go to new highs, we're going to have to see that accompanied with a lot of volume to suggest another leg up. But right now, these bulls are in control. And yesterday, even though it's fairly light volume, we saw a lot of pressure. Not a lot of pressure, but you saw keep pushing it down. And by the end of the day, whoop, we went right back up with no trouble. But like I said, we've had seen what I think is long liquidation up here, and you can see down here, but this is only on a 5-minute chart. So if you're looking at this, to me, on a very short-term basis, we need to get a 5-minute close with this 1480. But realistically, it's right here on a very short-term basis. What I'll do is I'll use this a lot, and I don't. If we're going to high or low, I like to see where it shows a lot of people getting stopped out. You can see 0 for 15, 0 for 6. So if I see something like, you generally don't see 0 all the time, but let's say it's 0 for 75, then you know it's just a lot of people that just got stopped out. And then more than often, then you can see a market pair back, and then I'll look for these areas in conjunction with the levels, although the levels have not suggested anything to me was provided, other than this 910 right here on a very short-term basis. If you're scalping, it was the footprint that showed me the volume at around 916 to 923 that said, wow, this thing looks like it may have run out of gas, and then you were able to ride a scalp short down. But these guys are still in control. So let's just go into the S&Ps right now, and we'll call it a day. So here with the S&Ps, same here. This is at 43.43. Look, the next key support here is going to be, I think I have it here. Now this price chart keeps messing up. 43.43. But, and we did come down here to 43.43. But I think where the line in the sand is going to be right there, 43.33. If you can go below it, but if we get a close below 43.33, that's going to open the door for further momentum to go through. Right now, I would just stick with the levels as they are, because you have to admit the bulls are just in control. So don't try and, if you scalped it, that's great, but I would not. If we were in a down market like here, then you can sell the downside breaks and see further momentum. But if you're in an up market like that and you sell the downside break, you may be actually selling while everybody's covering the shorts. So there we go. That's all we have for today. We did go on and mention about gold. Gold, our bias chart support was for 17.92. We discussed it. Yesterday was 94, and we only missed it by 30 cents. Today we were off by a dime. But really, it was just about us failing and the bulls getting tricked. And I was saying this morning, I said, I don't care. I think they're just probably going to go down to 92 because, I think the bulls are so disappointed. And I think at the time we were trading around here, 18.05 or whatever, but we still dropped and shed about $10, I think it was, or maybe $12 before we came here. But I was just looking on the levels. I haven't traded gold. Matter of fact, I was even saying I should be trading gold because we've seen some pretty good sizable moves while indices have been trading these super tight ranges. But that's what I look for. I'll look for things to, when I think a market's going to begin to roll over, of course, I'm going to be looking, but then I start to look at different time frames. I'm saying, is there something that the market's reacting to? Is it really reacting to the 30-minute? Am I seeing something here that suggests, and that gives me that extra confidence to say, oh, okay, that's what it appears to be reacting to, even though I might be looking at this, which I generally do on a 2-hour chart, say, wow, it's really reacting to the 30-minute. Look, we had a gravestone doji, and it shed, if it's gold, it shed $8 real fast, and then it rallied back up, and then had something similar, and it faded once again. Now I know what the guys and gals are going to be looking at, and I'll start to focus on that. So anyway, good luck, but that's where we are. But bulls are still in control, so be careful on this, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see you in the European crossover tomorrow. Thank you.